Okay, now look at our customers controller. This is my solution to the exercise in the last section. So here in the index action, you see a call to get customers method. And let's take a look at the implementation of this method. Look here, I have hard-coded a list of 2 customers. I want to get rid of this private method and instead get the customers from the database. So, first of all, we need a DB context to access the database. So by convention, we declare a private field, private application DB context, and we call it underline context. We need to initialize this in the constructor. So ctor tab underline context equals new application DB context. Now this DB context is a disposable object. So we need to properly dispose this object. The proper way to do it is to override the dispose method of the base controller class. Here we call context.dispose. In the second part of this course, I'm going to show you how we can delegate instantiating and disposing objects to a dependency injection framework. This way our code will be cleaner and we can unit test this class. But that's beyond the scope of this course because this is for beginners, so don't worry about it yet. Now, back to our index action. Instead of calling getCustomers, I'm going to initialize the customers variable using context.customers. So this customers property is a DB set we define in our DB context. So with this, we can get all customers in the database. Now, one thing you need to know about Entity Framework is that when this line is executed, Entity Framework is not going to query the database. This is what we call deferred execution. The query is actually executed when we iterate over this customers object. For example, in the view, let's take a look. Control B. So here we are iterating over that customers object, and that's when the query is actually executed. Alternatively, we can immediately execute the query by calling the toList method. We need to make one more change in this controller, and that is in details action. Again, here we're using this getCustomers, so we want to replace this with customers in the database. Underline context.customers that single or default. Again, with this line, our query will be immediately executed because of using this single or default extension method. Now you can see this getCustomers method is grayed out, so we can get rid of it. Delete. Now to test this, I'm going to go in the database and populate the customers table with a couple of records. So right-click customers, view data. Now you might want to say, but Mosh, you just told me in the last lecture that we should not modify this database directly. But in the last lecture, we had a different scenario. We wanted to populate membership types, which are part of our application. Membership types are reference data, so they should be consistent across different environments. But in this case, we are working with customers. It doesn't matter if we have 2 customers in our development database or 3 in our testing environment. When we deploy our application, we only deploy the migrations. So the arbitrary records we put here will not be deployed to the target database. Now, customer John Smith is not subscribed and is a pay-as-you-go customer. Mary Williams, subscribed, and is a monthly customer. Now let's run the application, Control F5, and go to list of customers. Okay, beautiful, our application is working. Let's click on this link. So the details page is also loading the customer from the database.